Who is this child you've been making me raise, Elena? I held up the DNA test results, my voice shaking with a rage I'd never felt before. Because according to science, she's not mine. My wife went pale, her mouth opening and closing like she was trying to find words that didn't exist. 2-year-old Sophia was playing with blocks in the corner, completely unaware that her entire world was about to collapse. Alexander, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain how? I've been working 60-hour weeks to support a family that was never actually mine. Can you explain why your boss? Michael's baby photos look exactly like our daughter. Elena's face crumpled. She knew I'd discovered everything. This is Cheating Facts, and if you want to hear more true stories of betrayal and justice like this one, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. My name is Alexander, and I'm about to tell you how my wife's workplace affair destroyed everything I thought I knew about my life. But more importantly, I'm going to show you how I methodically exposed their deception and made sure they both paid the price for what they'd done to me. This story really begins 3 years earlier. In 2018, when Elena got promoted to senior analyst at Henderson Financial Group, she was thrilled about working directly under Victoria Henderson, the company's founding partner, and I supported her career completely. We'd been married a year, and everything seemed perfect. Elena started changing almost immediately. She dressed more expensively, worked longer hours, and began talking constantly about Victoria's expectations and standards. Presentation matters in finance, she'd say when I commented on her new wardrobe. Victoria demands excellence in every detail. The red flags started small. Elena would take phone calls in the other room, claiming they were about sensitive client matters. She'd work weekends, saying Victoria was expanding the business and needed her expertise. When I suggested she was working too much, Elena would get defensive. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under," she'd snap. "Victoria is giving me opportunities that could set our entire future. If I don't prove myself now, someone else will take my place." Then Elena announced she was pregnant in early 2019. I was ecstatic. We'd been trying for a baby. When she showed me the positive test, I felt like our life was falling perfectly into place. Elena seemed happy too, though she remained obsessed with work throughout her pregnancy. Victoria's son Michael is joining the company, Elena told me during her 7th month. She wants me to help train him on our client systems. It's huge, Alexander. She's basically trusting me to prepare the next generation of leadership. Our daughter Sophia was born in September 2019, and she was absolutely beautiful. But even during Elena's maternity leave, Victoria called constantly. Not occasional check-ins, multiple calls every day about projects, deadlines, and client communications. I thought it was excessive, but Elena insisted it showed how valuable she was. When Elena returned to work in December 2019, the pattern intensified dramatically. She'd leave early, return late, and spend weekends at the office training Michael on what she called complex financial modeling systems. I took on most of the childcare duties, which I loved, but I started feeling like I was raising Sophia alone. Elena would come home exhausted, claiming Victoria and Michael were depending on her for crucial business decisions. "Michael's learning curve is steep," she'd explain. "Victoria expects me to have him fully trained on all our systems within 6 months. It's a massive responsibility, but it proves how much she trusts my expertise." The phone behavior was my first real clue something was wrong. Elena's device went from being casually shared to constantly protected. Always face down, always password locked, always within arm's reach. She'd take it everywhere: bathroom, bedroom, even quick trips to check the mail. When it buzzed with messages during dinner or family time, Elena would check immediately, regardless of what we were doing. "Victoria," she'd say without looking up. "She needs input on client proposals." But I caught glimpses of the screen. The contact names weren't Victoria or anything work-related. They were entries like M with heart emojis. The breaking point came during Sophia's first birthday party in September 2020. Elena spent the entire celebration on her phone, texting someone and smiling in ways I hadn't seen in months. When I asked who was so important, they couldn't wait until after our daughter's party. She quickly said, "Work emergency," and put the phone away. That night, after Sophia was asleep, I confronted Elena about her behavior. "You missed half of your own daughter's birthday party to text someone." Who's more important than Sophia? Elena's response was explosive. You have no idea what kind of pressure I'm under. Victoria and Michael are expanding the business, and they need my expertise. If you can't handle me having a successful career, maybe that's your problem. I was stunned. The Elena I married would never have called our daughter's birthday an interruption to her career. She would never have screamed at me for asking her to be present for family moments. That's when I knew something was fundamentally wrong. I started investigating carefully. Elena's company website listed all their events and training programs. I checked their corporate calendar. No weekend training sessions were scheduled. I looked up their business development initiatives. Nothing matched. Elena's detailed stories about Michael's training requirements. Elena's younger brother, Carlos, worked in IT and had helped us set up our family phone plan. I asked him privately to check what was using so much data on Elena's line. Carlos was reluctant, but when I explained my concerns, he agreed to help. What he found was devastating: multiple dating apps, encrypted messaging services, and video calling platforms I'd never seen Elena use. Her phone was essentially running a secret digital life. That's when I hired private investigator Patricia Collins. Patricia was professional and thorough. Within 2 weeks, she had documented evidence that destroyed everything I believed about my marriage. Elena wasn't just having an affair. She was in a full relationship with Michael Henderson, Victoria's son and the company's new business development director. The weekend training sessions were cover for their dates. The complex financial modeling was code for hotel meetings. Patricia had photos of them at restaurants, Michael's apartment, and even vacation spots Elena had claimed were work conferences. But the most damning evidence was a recording Patricia obtained from a restaurant where they met regularly. I can't keep lying to Alexander about working late. Elena's voice was clear on the audio. He's starting to ask too many questions about why I'm never home. Just tell him I'm a demanding trainee, Michael replied. He doesn't understand business anyway. Once my mother retires and I take over more company control, we won't have to hide anymore. What about Sophia? Elena asked. What about her? Alexander's been playing daddy this whole time. He loves it. Why complicate things with paternity when the arrangement works perfectly? I listened to that recording 5 times before the full implications hit me. They weren't just discussing their affair, they were talking about Sophia's parentage like it was a minor detail in their relationship planning. I immediately scheduled a DNA test. The results arrived 3 weeks later. Sophia wasn't my biological daughter. The little girl I'd been raising, loving, and protecting for almost 2 years was actually Michael Henderson's child. I sat in my car outside the lab, holding those results, feeling like my entire world had collapsed. But after the initial shock came something else. Absolute clarity about what I needed to do. I scheduled meetings with my attorney immediately. We documented everything: the affair evidence, the DNA results, Patricia's surveillance reports, and the professional misconduct angle. Elena had essentially traded sexual favors for career advancement within the company. The confrontation happened on that Saturday evening I described earlier. I presented Elena with everything at once: no accusations, no arguments, just evidence. Her reaction wasn't remorse. It was anger. You had me followed? You violated my privacy and hired some stranger to spy on me. When I played the restaurant recording, Elena's fury shifted to cold calculation. She claimed the affair just happened, due to work stress, and that she'd planned to tell me about Sophia's paternity when the time was right. You wouldn't understand, she said. Michael gets my ambitions. He appreciates my professional goals. You just wanted me to be some suburban housewife. I wanted you to be honest, I replied. I wanted you to be the person I married. People evolve, Alexander. I grew. You stayed the same. That conversation confirmed I was making the right decision. I filed for divorce immediately and submitted a formal complaint to Henderson Financial Group's board of directors. I detailed the inappropriate relationship between Elena and Michael, the professional benefits Elena had received through the affair, and the systematic deception they'd both engaged in. The professional consequences were swift and devastating. Henderson Financial Group had strict policies against supervisor-subordinate relationships, especially involving the founding family. Michael was terminated within 48 hours, and Elena was dismissed for violating company ethics policies. Victoria Henderson called me personally to apologize for her son's behavior and Elena's misconduct. She said the company was implementing new oversight procedures and assured me that Appropriate disciplinary actions were being taken. The divorce proceedings were straightforward given the mountain of evidence. I gathered. Elena tried to claim alimony and demanded child support for Sophia, but the DNA evidence and documentation of her affair made those arguments legally impossible. The most difficult part was saying goodbye to Sophia. Despite everything, I'd raised her for almost 2 years and loved her completely. Elena eventually moved across the country with Michael, effectively ending my relationship with the little girl I'd thought was my daughter. But there's more to this story. Elena and Michael's relationship didn't survive the consequences of their actions. According to mutual friends, they broke up within 6 months of moving away together. Apparently, when their affair was no longer secret and exciting, they discovered they had very little in common. Beyond workplace attraction and shared deception, Elena's career never recovered from the professional misconduct. Financial services is a small industry, and word spreads quickly about ethics violations. Michael struggled to find work after being fired from his family's company, with most employers viewing his termination as a major red flag. Today, 2 years later, I'm in a completely different place. I've focused on rebuilding my life and career. I'm dating someone new, Rebecca, a teacher who values honesty and genuine connection. We've been together for 8 months, and I'm learning what a relationship built on actual trust feels like. The most important lesson I learned was about evidence and patience. When I suspected Elena was lying, I didn't confront her based on emotions or make accusations without proof. I investigated thoroughly, consulted professionals, and gathered concrete documentation before taking any action. That methodical approach saved me from years of additional deception and gave me the legal tools to protect my future. It also ensured that when Elena and Michael faced consequences for their actions, those consequences were based on their choices, not on anything vindictive I'd done. Sometimes betrayal, while devastating initially, becomes the catalyst for building a better life. Elena's deception forced me to develop better instincts about relationships and become more selective about who I trust. I now recognize red flags I would have missed before. If you're watching this and recognizing similar patterns in your own relationship, trust your instincts but gather evidence before acting. Document everything. Consult professionals when necessary. And remember that discovering betrayal, while painful, is always better than living unknowingly in deception. Truth has a way of surfacing eventually. The question is whether you'll be prepared when it does, and whether you'll have the evidence needed to protect yourself when that moment arrives. The child Elena made me raise wasn't mine, but the strength I discovered in myself through this experience absolutely is. And that's something no one can ever take away. Make sure to subscribe for more true stories of betrayal and justice. You never know what secrets might be hiding in your own life.